Welcome back to XOXO CLB. My name's Lexi.
And my name is Blake, and I'm also one of your other hosts for this show.
Today our topic is everyone's favorite thing, 80s music.
I know personally I love 80s music so much. It's one of my favorite things.
Me too. 80s music is the best to jam out to in the car or in my room.
Don't even get me started on everything in the 80s. I love the movies and the fashion back then also.
Me too, girl. I wish I lived in that decade.
So the run for today's show is Lexi and I will be talking about the 80s music, then we'll throw it to Johnny Grant and Jason Hook, the other less famous Wayne Hills TV stars, to give us their other opinions on the 80s music also.
Then after that, Chelsey will go in the hallway and interview people. It's going to be a good episode. So on to our first question. What's your favorite 80s song and artist?
My favorite 80s song is I Wanna Dance With Somebody. I feel like it's just like a classic, and everyone like knows the song and like knows it's from the 80s. So, And my favorite artists were probably Madonna, Billy Joel, Bon Jovi, Michael Jackson. What about you?
Good ones. I have probably some of the same, like Bon Jovi, Billy Joel. I love the Smiths, Fleetwood Mac, and Queen. I would say like my favorite songs. I can't say like I'm an expert. I feel like they're pretty popular songs. So like Vienna by Billy Joel, Silver Springs, and The Chain by Fleetwood Mac are like probably some of my favorites.
That's some pretty good songs, but they're definitely not my favorite.
Okay, Blake, it's fine, I guess.
Well, on to our second question. Why do you think 80s music was a good era?
I think it was a good era because like it really made an impact on like music today, and I feel like the 70s was kind of like a lot of like rock and like soft rock, and then like 80s like merged with like pop, and you kind of see like there's still some like really popular 80s songs that are still popular now. So yeah.
I like agree with you also. I believe there's plenty like right now there's plenty of like the artists out there who like are much different, and like they're creating much different music to like what they were creating back then, and I feel like the 80s music, people are still listening to them to this day. Like I listen to like Billy Joel on repeat all the time, so I feel like they're making a huge impact on like the world now because we're still listening to them.
I agree. That decade was just the best decade ever.
Now on to our last question before we throw it to the 80s music experts, Hook and Grant. Let me ask, who do you think had the biggest impact on the music in the 80s?
Okay, so I think like just in general, like AC/DC and Queen both made a huge impact, but specifically for Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, because everybody knows that song and it's just so iconic. What do you think?
Good answer, Lex. But I would feel like Billy Joel because, again, everyone listens to him right now, and he's like, he impacted like everyone because like people are going to his concerts now, and like he performs like maybe like 3 times like a month or maybe more. So I feel like everyone just loves his music. So now let's throw it to Johnny Grant and Jason Hook.
3, 2, 1. Boy, oh boy, howdy. Hey, everyone. Do I feel honored to be here?
What's going on, XOXO CLB? This is the best show ever, and I'm so honored to be here.
I know, man. It's a shame my show, Rico and Hook, can't compete with them.
Not even on a scale with this.
Yeah. My partner has been slacking recently, so, you know.
So we're here to talk about 80s music, and Jason, you're a pretty big music fan.
I'd say I'm a connoisseur of sorts, yes.
All right. So what would you say is your favorite type of music?
My favorite type of music is 80s music, John Grant.
Why would you say that?
I just think it's, you know, probably the most approachable type of music. It's really for everyone. You know, you got some pretty big artists of the time that we'll get to a little bit later on that have really inspired a lot of modern day artists. So I think talking about, you know, inspiration wise, I'd say 80s music is probably the biggest.
Yeah, you know, everyone loves 80s music.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it. Who would you say are your favorite 80s bands?
Oh, man.
Singers.
Well, you know, growing up in Jersey, I'm a big Billy Joel guy. I know his earlier stuff was 70s, but once you get to, you know, We Didn't Start the Fire and on his later work, I prefer more than his earlier work. Big fan of the Smiths and really all those, you know, post-punk British bands of the time. I'm also a huge Cocteau Twins fan who I can guarantee nobody watching the show knows who that is. They were a trio back in the 80s, I think from England. Half their songs were in a made-up language, but they're fantastic.
Wow.
If you can look up right now, ask your dad. Ask your dad if he knows Heaven or Las Vegas by the Cockatoo Twins. He probably doesn't, but if he does, you got a pretty great dad.
I'm a pretty big fan of the New Order, the Depeche Mode,
Right.
Van Halen, that kind of stuff, basic 80s stuff,
My dad's old cat was named Depeche, actually.
Yeah?
A little fun
That's a
fact.
great name for a
It
cat.
was named before he got the cat, though.
So
I don't think it was a
yeah,
big
you don't get
Depeche
that. You don't
Mode
get
fan.
as much credit
I know
for the name.
Yeah,
a great name.
He
Yeah.
wasn't that creative.
Mm.
So, great guy though. Not a Cockatoo Twins.
Not a
fan.
Cockatoo
no,
Twins
no,
fan?
no, no,
Ah.
no, no.
So
Great
not
guy,
that
though.
Great of a guy.
Great guy though. So you talk about your favorite artist of the time. Who do you think is the most impactful of the time?
I'd say Billy Joel
Mm-hmm.
or Depeche Mode also played a very big part in that
Oh, yeah.
80s
Oh, yeah.
sound. It was a different, because we went from the 70s, which was very like rock and roll and stuff, into the 80s, which was, different from that. So it kind of changed the sound, and I think that had a very underrated impact on music, not only in the 80s, but today as well, Depeche Mode.
I'd probably go with a rock band for myself. Well, I'll move on from that. I'd probably go with Michael Jackson. Now that it came to my head, 1982. You have Thriller, which is arguably the biggest album of all time,
yeah.
and you can't debate how impactful Michael Jackson has been to pretty much all of music.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go with him.
And we're talking about the switch of music. We're talking about Michael Jackson. Also got to talk about Prince, who was another big
Prince,
guy in the
great
80s.
Purple Rain, amazing
Purple
album.
Rain, amazing album.
Great album.
Seven, great
Decent
song.
movie at best. Had a great halftime performance.
Decent movie. And Van Halen is another huge
Van Halen's
band
big,
from the 80s.
big Eddie Van Halen guy.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, I think. I'm gonna go with rest in peace just in case. Great
Rest in
guitarist,
peace.
one of the best of all time. My dad was a huge U2 fan.
Yes.
Joshua Tree is one of his favorite albums. I know that was, I believe, late 70s, not in the 80s, but they were also a big impact in the 80s as well. Forced their way onto every iPhone with Songs of Innocence, their 2012 album, Never Forget. Still on my Apple Music to this day, against my will.
Another one, Bon Jovi.
Jovi,
a very big
huge,
one in
huge.
Joyzy.
Joyzy,
Very big one.
big time. Love my Italian American artists.
Love it.
Love them.
Then they were.
Springsteen,
I feel like
I
it was
mean-
their prime in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Billy
I'd
Joel,
argue
Springsteen.
Yeah, I'd say Italian Americans, their prime was like 30s, 40s.
Yeah, I feel like
Shout
that
out
was when they were
shout
the
out
most
Capone.
bossed
I don't
up.
condone.
That was when the Italians were the most bossed up.
I don't condone what he did, but like Al Capone is a sick name.
No, yeah.
So I'll
it
just
really
go with
is.
that.
He
you know?
really is a boss name,
Artists to their artwork, their songs, their music. What is your favorite song or favorite songs from the 80s?
I always say my favorite song is, Blue Monday by New Order.
Okay, all right.
It's a great song, 7 minutes long. It's one of the first songs I ever really liked when I was, you always like songs when you were a kid, but when
Yep.
you take it upon yourself to listen to music, that was one of the first songs.
I had an awakening like that. Wiggle by Jason Derulo was probably my first that I really got into. But favorite songs from the 80s, again, I'm going to have to go with some niche picks here.
All right.
Frou Frou Foxes by the Cockatoo Twins. Again, nobody knows who these people are. They could not be real, and you would have no idea. Heaven or Las Vegas is also good by the same group. I Know It's Over by the Smiths usually gets me in my feels. Roxanne by the Police is
the
great.
Police, that's someone we didn't mention. Police.
That they're also a very influential band. Big Sting guy over here. And then again, just keeping with U2, just the entire Joshua Tree album as a whole was
Sunday, Bloody
fantastic. The Alan Parsons Project, who made that Chicago Bulls theme song, came around in the 90s. The album was from the 80s, so I'm big on their older stuff. A big psych rock guy and a big prog rock guy as well. I'd say so. What about you? I feel like I yapped over here.
I like a lot of the the New Order stuff, and I do like the Smiths a lot. Some songs, There's a Light That Never Goes Out, very good. Double bus.
Great song.
Great song.
500 Days.
Great
of Summer.
band. That's another one of those bands that like my dad used to play when I was younger.
He's not a great guy.
No, not at all.
But his music is fantastic.
Yeah, very great music.
His music's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'd say the 80s as a whole, as we've gotten to, has been, you know, one of the best, and we've really explained it well here. And I'm gonna steal your part here to close it out, and I'd say it was very fun talking to you.
Very fun, Jason.
About 80s music. Can't wait for the 50s music section.
That would be,
because that'll be a wild ride.
Can't wait.
And now we will throw it back to Lexi and Blake for more.
Thanks, Jason and Johnny. I really enjoyed that. Now we will pass it to Chelsey, our other co-host, where she will be interviewing people in the hall.
Hi guys, now I'm in the hall with my two friends, Michaela and Julia, and I'm going to be asking them some more questions about 80s music. So, what's your favorite 80s song?
My favorite 80s song is probably Vienna because it's still iconic and it was very popular.
It's so iconic and it's still popular to this day. Everyone listens to it, everyone loves it, and everyone jams out to it. How about you, Julia?
Definitely Crazy Train because I just think it's such a fun song and I really like it.
Great answer. Now on to our second question. Were the 80s the best decade?
In like my opinion.
In your opinion, yes.
Personally, like no. Like I'm not a big fan of the 80s. Chelsey is. So I would say no, in my opinion.
Okay. How about you, Julia?
I would say that the 80s is not my favorite, but I like the 2000s, but I think the 80s are cool too.
Cool. Now on to our last question. In the 80s, who had the best music video?
I would say music video Let's Get Physical. I don't know what that was by.
Yeah, I agree with that. That was my favorite too.
Okay.
So yeah.
Do you want to sing it? Let's get physical, physical. Hi guys, I'm here with Guy and AJ, and they're both seniors, and I'm going to be asking them what their favorite song was from the 80s. So guys, what's your favorite song from the 80s?
My favorite song is Could You Be Loved by Bob Marley.
That's a good song. What about you?
I have to agree with AJ there. It's such a good song. The rhythm, everything's good about it.
Do you guys want to sing it real quick?
No, I'll pass.
Okay. Now on to the next question. Who do you think made the biggest impact in the 80s?
Bob Marley.
Why?
Everybody loves his music.
Okay.
Lauryn Hill, she was like the best girl rapper like to exist ever, and she made such a big impact for girls in rapping.
Great answer, guys. Hi, guys. Now I'm here in the hall, and I'm here with the senior Jake, and I'm going to be asking him his favorite 80s song. So, Jake, what's your favorite 80s song?
I think it's going to be Don't Stop Believin', because I love Glee, and yeah, 100%.
Do you know how to sing it?
Nope.
Okay. Now on to my next question. What is your favorite 80s music video?
Don't Stop Believin'. It's a really good music video.
Nice. Now on to your last question. Which band do you think made the biggest impact in the 80s?
Were the Beatles around the 80s?
No, they were not.
Close enough. AC/DC, yeah, they're good. They were good in the 80s. We'll do AC/DC, yeah.
Great answers.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you for everyone who answered us in the hall.
I hope everyone enjoyed this episode and see you next time on XOXO CLB.